So
Right?
Tyler, this topic's all for you.
Oh,
How do we build lasting strength?
episode 2, right?
I
Welcome
mean,
back.
Instagram would tell us that we just take steroids and that's it.
It also tell you a lot of other things too. Like, there's a lot of conflicting.
Actually, no. What is it? Go vegan.
There's a lot of conflicting information. Building strength is relatively simple for a lot of people. There's a lot of elements to it. Like, there's a lot of stuff that most people don't consider, or most people overcomplicate. There's a lot of overcomplication, especially with the science-based community around bodybuilding. All this, like, time under tension and like extreme stretch positions and like optimal techniques. Like,
I think for this, let's start off. So the point of this podcast, let's start off because there's a lot of expressions of strength,
yes,
and I think that's where most people get it wrong.
yes,
I mean, if you tested enough things, you would find somewhere where someone didn't get stronger.
yeah,
The context that we choose to utilize for testing, a lot of time, people be like, let's go for simplicity reasons. Did my back squat go up? My 1RM. It's like, no, my 1RM didn't go up. So that doesn't necessarily mean someone didn't get stronger because their 3RM might have gone up.
yeah. And that's what I like to point out, especially a lot of my athletes, a lot of guys who get to a 1RM week or a testing week and then they fall short or they fail. They come to me and like, oh, I just feel like I haven't improved, or like, oh, like I really thought I was going to PR. Like I've worked so hard and like it just didn't turn out that way. And I got to remind them, I'm like, look, on the way there, your 5RM went up. You did the most reps you ever did at X weight. Your 3RM went up. Like, you are stronger by every other metric but the one that you can measure your cock by, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing at the end of the day. Like, other than strength sports, like powerlifting, like Olympic lifting, like strongman, you don't need to have a 1RM. You can use a calculator that will tell you based on your 3, 5, 7, 9, etc. RMs without stressing your body. 1RMs are proven to weaken you. They are proven to injure you, and you only need to do them if your sport demands them. So that's a big starting point. Like, one of the best ways to start or build lasting strength is by not avoiding, but potentially you don't have to ever do a 1RM to know where your current max is. That being said, if you're a strength athlete and train for a strength sport, you do need to do heavy singles around or at your 1 rep max because it trains the specific skill of competition lifting, which is lifting 1 rep max weights. That is the only caveat. If you're not a strength athlete, which is the majority of people, you don't need to max out not only every session, but basically ever. I know it's sexy. I know Instagram loves the 1RM videos.
I'm going to use Tristan as an example here. So Tristan's addicted to it, but he's addicted to it because of the feedback loops that he gets from it.
Yeah.
So he's actually not addicted to the 1RM. He's addicted to the attention that comes with attempting a 1RM.
Yes.
So it's not whether this is a positive or negative. Like for Tristan, it probably is a positive because it's like a highlight of his day. So it's not a bad thing, but you'll notice like he will always go off script and he'll always not follow the program and he'll max out in percentage lifting because it means the boys will come around and the boys will hype him up.
Yeah.
And he's become addicted to that.
Sorry, Tristan.
I'm just using Tristan as an example.
That's put him under the bus, right?
Just because he is, but he also does do strength sports. Like he is a power lifter.
Yeah.
So like it's not a negative for him, but it is a scenario where he's just the feedback loops that are there. He's looking for them and he wants them often. So like to wait 6 weeks to have that scenario is just, he can't do it.
No.
Like he doesn't have the delayed gratification to do it. He wants it every day he comes into the gym.
Yeah. And that's the challenge of him. It's like, I always say to him, I'm like, hey, we're a couple weeks out. I'm like, let's chill out. And I'm no better, right? I'll do certain crazy things. But I think the sexier thing in my eyes, especially as a strength coach and someone who idolizes strength, is if you are feeling overly good in a certain session and you are feeling like you've got a little bit more energy, rather than building to a max or going to max out, you should take whatever protocol that you are doing. Let's say 3 sets of 3 squats, for example, at a set percentage. And instead of the last set doing 3 reps, try to see how many you can do. Like truly see, like if it's RPE 8, for example, try see if you can get 5 reps, 6 reps, 7 reps. Give yourself that feedback loop that is actual knowledge you can use in your training. Hey, it says 3x3 at 100 kilos should be an RPE 8. I will do as many reps as I can on my final set after fatigue, right? And you're also not ruining the actual protocol that you're doing, and then really see and truly test how many can you do past that 3. Like if 5 reps should be your max at 100 kilos and you do 6, are you really working off the right weight? Like, have you just shown yourself like, wow, man, I'm better than I thought I am? Or vice versa, you fall short, you get 4 reps. Maybe I'm training too heavy. Maybe I've overestimated what my lifting. And like, that's the feedback I want. And that's what's sexy. Like watching someone like rep out something that they're supposed to do for less reps is really cool. And the profound benefits of that, the increased intensity, the awareness of how high they can how they can push themselves. Obviously, it's safe for select scenarios. It's not something you should do every single time you get to a bar, but it is a way to help build lasting strength because the risk of injury is lower on a lighter weight compared to your 1RM.
It's good confidence building.
It is. And like I say to all my athletes, like I would rather you push yourself hard on the set that we're doing, the percentage or the weight that we've set, than just go off program and max out. Even me personally, even though I go off program time to time, it is never to do a 1RM. It is always to see, wow, this week's weight says 227.5 on my squats. It says 1 rep. I reckon I could do 2. Let's give that a go. Like, cool, I could do 2. Wow, my confidence is super high. Like, I've never done 2 reps at that weight before. Like, now it's no longer a heavy single. It's not scary to me, right? And then next week is,
you're backing yourself too. Like, that's something you're going to develop in your training. Like, you're learning to do that. So you're learning to back yourself and talk yourself into it, not out of it. And it is a difference between a lot of people. Like, I was talking to one of my clients about it last night. I was talking about, okay, I've got you and I've got another client and I run the same protocols. All right, so we're doing one snatch at 90% every 45 seconds for 10. All right, how come one person moves further than the other or moves faster than the other? And it's just intent.
Yeah.
Like a lot of it is the intent within the session, even though every other metric is the same.
Yeah, and also I reckon a big point, this is probably number one, like really like a real big point is that strength science is an interesting realm because they test based on like what they believe is a metric that they can define. But unlike, let's say, chemicals, for example, we know what water is, right? We know the chemical compound and the makeup of water. We know if we combine water with something else, it creates another chemical. We know these things, right? They're set in stone and they don't change unless we figure out something new. In strength, me versus you are completely different people when it comes to anything, right? Michael's tall, I'm short. My arms are longer than Michael's, relevant to my body. My legs may be shorter, relevant to his body. So like, how is it that we can apply set in stone strength science to something that has so much variables to it? What I mean by that is not to not listen to strength science. Like there is some adequate benefits from large testing pools of people that'll give us an idea of some sort of direction to go in. But what I mean by that is that there's no ideal setup technique for a back squat for every person. There's no ideal setup position for a bench press that'll work for everyone in the gym. Everyone's going to have certain uniqueness to their particular setup based on positioning, previous injuries, their current mobility, a whole range of different things. So it's like when people say like there's only one way to do that, like, and that's the best way, or when coaches only teach one way, that's when you can run into some problems. You need to adapt based on the athlete. Yes, there's some clear standpoints of what kind of, certain technical cues will always work for all people. Like a main one is not to walk so far away from the barbell rack when you're unracking. Like, it doesn't matter who you are. Like, the closer you stay to the rack, the less energy you expend, the stronger you're going to be.
Yeah, they're just
frameworks, right? Yeah. But like the exact distance of my stance being, 43 centimeters between feet and my toes sitting at exactly 30 degrees, that's not going to work for everyone. Some people have different, insertion points. People have different bone structures. Some people's hips are wide, childbirthing hips. Some have really narrow, hips.
And something people don't talk about is like everyone lives a different life. So their stresses like that they've been through, the amount of injuries that someone's been through is going to affect their mechanics. Like mechanics are always changing. And I think it comes down to the point. Like I always think, what is the point? Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Like, you're coming to train to learn. Like you should be here learning.
Yeah.
Like your value to society is not defined by what you lift.
Yeah.
Because for us, the way we think, there is too many variables, so it's not even a legitimate thing.
Yeah.
So when you sit there and you're like, oh, well, Tristan out squats me, so he's a better human being. It's like, no wonder you're gonna fucking feel like shit, because the perspective in which you compare things just isn't reality.
Yeah, and they also ask, why can Tristan squat so much? He is someone who, notoriously probably overtrains. He has a lot of external issues, stressful work life, but he still manages to put big numbers up. Why can't I do it? I have a low stress life. I don't have anything external. It's affecting my ability to perform in the gym. But maybe he just commits better. Like you said, maybe he brings better intensity to his training. So, comparison being the thief of all joy, like you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you're also comparing yourself to others.
And if you compare, like, this is my pet peeve. If you compare properly. Stop being fucking lazy with it.
Yeah, compare against someone who
like
is...
social media is a classic example. You watch a video and you're like, oh shit, this person's better than me. Go to their profile, look at them, learn about them, work out their age, work out what they do, and actually compare things.
Yeah.
Like, write down 10 things and compare 10 things.
Yeah.
Like, just take 5 minutes. Because I guarantee you, and I say it all the time, if it's drama, someone will stalk, they'll find out, and they'll find out context. It's like, we'll just do it with the things you're comparing.
Yeah. So then you have an accurate representation of what you're trying to find.
And you'll very quickly realize, you're like, oh, never mind, this person only works 2 hours a day. Or like, they end up sleeping 10. Like, they literally train in the morning, food's prepped for them. We can use Matt Fraser as an example. Like, all these other external variables and stresses that other people would have to deal with, he didn't have to deal with. He put frameworks in place that helped him with it.
Yeah, and that's unique to him. But you're not Matt Fraser either, so it's like,
yeah,
you can't do that. Like, you've got kids, you've got a very hard, stressful job. You might travel quite a far bit for the job, making gym training.
His partner legitimately optimized her life for him.
Yeah.
Like, for him.
Yeah, and
most people just optimize for them fucking selves.
And that's fair. Like, not many people have partners that are that selfless, and I don't blame them, because people have their own lives, their own goals, their own aspirations. Obviously, hers was to help him succeed, and she did benefit from that long term. But in the short term, there was like,
she knew it was seasonal.
That's it. There was but that's the thing. Like, so if we bring ourselves back to point number one, like there's no clear cut, like, stenciled outline way to do anything in strength. You need to find what works for you based on your particular build, your experience, and I guess your current injury state. So like you said, maybe if you want to look at, trying to steal someone's technique that works, find someone, whether it's online, in person, or, external, that has very similar build to you. Look at their height, look at their weight, look at, their age. Is this all these factors that line up with you? Cool. Maybe you can utilize most of their points of performance to help you build a good structured technique. Or maybe find someone you trust that has, pretty sound knowledge in the subject. Then listen to some of their key points. Will these work for me? Yes or no? Like, that's got to be a starting point. I think the second thing is literally tools. What you use to get strong. People are crazy. Like, there's so much stuff online. Plyometric training, like the ATG, like squat group, landmine training. Like, there's all this random stuff out there that people get caught up with. Or if I start doing, some landmine press ups, and like I start doing like, burpee broad jump over like an obstacle while like, focusing on bounding mechanics, like I'm going to build a bigger squat. But it comes back to the end of the day, if you want to build lasting strength in certain movements, you have to train those movements first.
Yeah, and there's a framework like Alex Hormozy talks about in business. It's called More, Better, New. And I think it applies here too, where the problem with most people is the fact that we very much train these days to just look for new.
Yeah.
So instead of being like, oh, could I actually do more of it? So I'm squatting once a week. I'm not getting stronger. Should I squat more? What happens if I squat more? Like, the amount of times we see people go, I want to get stronger, or I want lasting strength. They just need more dose.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, we just need more time under the bar. Then the next question is, can you do it better? Like, training intent, training sessions, how you prime, what we refer to as training hygiene. Are your warm-ups adequate? Are they specific to you? What are you doing with your actual working sets? Like you spoke about, are you just going for the 1RM and then not really learning anything? Or are you feeling good and you're actually going to test yourself and build some confidence on these movements? Most people suck at things because they just haven't done it enough. And like, the principle of getting good at something requires you to suck at something initially.
Yeah.
Like, you were born, you cannot walk. Everyone is born and cannot walk. You learn to walk. You cannot talk. You learn to talk. Like, you are going to suck at something, but that's probably exactly where you need to be.
Exactly. And I think like what you said was a really good point, is that like, what is your training session looking like? So, okay, like let's say you want to squat more. You currently squat 100 kilos and you want to get to 140. how does that look in a strength athlete's life? Like if you're someone who's relatively new, increasing the dose is definitely one way to go. Why is it? More volume just is going to equal more strength long term. You're going to build more hypertrophy. You're going to get better at the movement pattern. Central nervous system is going to improve, so you can tolerate more load. But you also get more touches on the movement itself. If you're doing squatting 3 days a week, that's 2 times more amount of squatting that you're doing than you already currently.
And you climatize. Like something people don't really talk about is if you think about the fact that you squat once a week, all right, when we work with those clients, the amount of warm-up they need because it's such a position they just don't spend much time in.
Yeah.
Versus someone who squats 3 or 4 times a week. They'll come in and they'll do 90-90 hip switch and they'll do 30 seconds on the bike and they hit a nice, strong, full-depth squat. Good bracing mechanics, good position.
That's it. And that's because they're accustomed to it, they're conditioned to it, and they've also spent a lot of time doing it. It's just like, you don't use it, you lose it, right? That's a good concept here. So I think, what your training looks like is definitely very inherent, and then your relationship with it is important too. Tristan, the guy we were talking about before, and I always talk about relationships with certain movements. So regardless of whether this applies to strength or anything, CrossFit, high rocks, whatever, let's say you hate running. If you don't run, you're never going to get better at it. But if you always have that poor relationship with running, so, running's coming up, 1,600 meters, it's so far. Like, if that's your mindset, like when you're doing it, before, during, and after, it's just dread, hatred, and then you're like, God, thank God that's over. There's no improvement in that. If you're like, wow, like my running is really poor. This is what CrossFitters do well, because they always like work on the wheel, no have any like holes in your training. Like they will spend hours and hours working on their weaknesses. Let's apply that to everything. So for me, as a personal one, bench press is that bad relationship. Bench press. Like I'm so bad at this. Like squat, deadlift, hell yeah. Like that's where I want to be. Get to a bench session, it's just dread. Like it's just uncomfortable. I don't like the position I'm in. Like it feels clunky. My shoulders hurt. Like, I'll kind of do it. Like I'll do the bare minimum. Like I won't put too much intensity into it. I'll just try a little bit. Like, this is really hard. Like I'm going to stop here. Like there's some additional accessories. Nah, I won't worry about that. I'll just, I'll rest for tomorrow because I got deadlifts tomorrow. I want to perform for those. But it's like, why not just have that same mindset that I have with the lifts that I'm good at, but really like double down like, okay, why don't I like this movement? Is it because the setup that I'm in hurts my shoulders? Is it because I'm not performing very well during the session because I have no intent to perform well, or I don't want to get any better? Like, how do I get to be the best bencher in the gym? Well, now I spend more time doing it 2, 3, 4 days a week. One of my sessions is speed work, which is an excuse to just work on technique and setup. The weight is hilariously light, so it's like, it's not going to be a struggle, and it doesn't matter how bad I feel, I can still do those sessions and still gain benefits. And then on top of that, like, I'm just working on fixing the weak points of that movement. So if you make the whole experience more enjoyable, then it's not going to be such a negative relationship. It's not going to be like, this movement again. It's going to be like, wow, what an opportunity. I've got another opportunity to work on this movement and get better at it. And because you're bad at something, that improvement level is just going to skyrocket because you don't already have this like foundation of good level of strength, good technique, good like movement patterns, good positional setup and positional awareness. Like you've got so much you can improve on. That's what starts that spiral of like improvement, and then you see those benefits come quicker than something you're already good at. So I think that's a good thing. Like improving and fixing relationships with certain movements and certain contexts will help gain massive benefits, and then you'll see it carry across. Like the stronger my lats get during a bench press when I focus on squeezing and tensing means that when I'm in a deadlift, it's not an issue. Right? That carries over. Just like when you develop your squat, your deadlift goes up because you're working similar patterns and muscle groups. So it's just like, don't look at it from such a closed-minded, like narrow stance. Look at it from a nice open position where you can see like 1,000-point view. How is this going to improve this? Like, how am I going to get from A to B? What do I need to do to improve my relationship with this?
And I think like for the listeners, like this is a very good conversation for coaches and that. It's a little bit more in depth. But for them, like just hang around the person who's good and you'll pick up these things. Yeah. So the more you hang around Tristan, you'll notice he has a healthy relationship with benching and squatting. Like his mindset around it, even if he feels like shit, like he has so many sessions that he can draw back on mentally where he felt like shit and he still PR'd.
Yeah.
Or he still performed. I had it with a client this week where he was like, I'm so sore, I can't squat. I was like, okay, let's just warm up get through the first set, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
He ends up squatting better than he's ever squatted.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times, the way you feel versus how things will actually play out are very different.
Yeah, exactly. And that's got to be something that you got to keep in mind, because like I tell all my athletes, 66% of sessions will be average or poor. You can't expect that every day is going to be that PR attempt day, that excellent feeling, especially on the 1RM sessions. Like,
and fatigue masks progress.
It does.
Like when you work through a new training cycle, you are fatigued, and that's what you're adapting to.
Yeah.
So you probably aren't going to have that progress feedback loop until we peak you to test.
Well, that's what they say: acclimation, transmutation, realization. It doesn't go like, holy crap, I'm killing it. Holy crap, I'm killing it.
Every
It's,
week. Yeah.
acclimation is accumulating volume. That's the start of a program. Transmutation is transitioning that volume into strength. And then the last phase is the realization, like, holy crap, because I did lots of volume and lots of positional work and lots of explosive work, and I trained my technique and I did lots of reps and sets so that my strength is better and my muscles are bigger. Now I can lift heavier. Like, holy crap. But if I don't go through the acclimation and transmutation, or the volume and strength phase, how are you going to PB? Like, you don't deserve it. And that's the thing. Like, that's like, well, people just, I've done a week of squatting, I should be stronger. Like,
And I mean, okay, for the listeners, like, they need a strategy.
Yeah.
Right. Now, to simplify it, like we always say strategy, people are like, oh shit, there's so many strategies. Just prioritize. Like, if all the conversations we had, all strategy means is prioritization.
Yeah.
Pick something. Stop being like, I want to be stronger, I want to be fitter, I want to lose weight, I want to, like, pick one, get good at it, move to the next one, get good at it, and understand that training is seasonal. That's how it's designed.
Yes.
Like, the world doesn't operate on one season. There's 4. So treat your training the same.
Yeah.
Like, have a season where you work on strength. Have a season where you work on body composition. Have a season, and that will be where you get to dial in your discipline with food. Then you get to work on fitness or expression of fitness, however you want to define it. Like, and it becomes more enjoyable.
Yeah, because you know it's not always I've got to lift heavy or I've got to go hard. Like, the intensity is not always 110%. You have to have time periods around, like, year round, that you're going to have 50, 60, 70% intensity sessions where you're focusing on improving technique, rehabilitating injuries, getting stronger or bigger, bodybuilding, all that kind of stuff. Mobility work, like, there's tons of other elements you can look at, not just what's going to get me a better 1RM. Like, but all these other things are going to get you a better 1RM, but they're just not sexy. They're just not something you're going to post on Instagram.
No, and you have to remember, like, just from a basic principle, like, we are designed to survive, not thrive. And if we define thrive by improve these things, happiness, however you want to frame it, by definition, it means you need to go against your impulses.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, or you need to control or manipulate or be conscious of them, because our impulses aren't designed to keep us happy.
No. And
Right.
I would say, like, to round it all up, I've covered the first point. So we've covered, like, hey, what you're doing is probably not going to be universal. So technique isn't universal. Like, positioning is not universal. You got to find what works for you. Secondly, obviously, like, not maxing out every session, focusing on intent of sessions, like showing up, like making sure you're working on weaknesses, you're improving your relationship with things, like overall bettering yourself, and not just like kind of tunneling in on the one thing. You're expanding and broadening your view of strength training and looking at working on all elements of strength, rather than just like, I need to do back squats every time. Increasing volume, doing it more often, changing your positions, etc. I reckon the final one is simply just like, so if you want to get stronger, this is probably the easiest way. Barbell movements is the main focus. So for whatever reason, people tend to think like, oh, machines, cables, like dumbbell work, like sandbags, etc. Like, these are all great tools, but nothing has come out to beat what the barbell can do for us. Just like the way it's set up, the balance, the variety of training you can do with it, like how easy it is to load. Like, if you look at anything else, like, it's hard to track running progression unless you're doing some of the same thing you're testing and then like retesting. So like, if you're trying to get it better at a 5K and you're running 3 days a week, it's hard to track and measure that improvement over the week, right? Because you might be like, oh, I did a couple of miles, I did long distance, I did short distance work. You don't really know that you've improved your 5K until you do another 5K. Yeah. But with strength training, you can improve session to session, week to week, because last week you could do 60, this week you could do 65. It's a clear progression. You can't get stronger without putting on weight, right? But you know you're stronger when you do put on the weight. So it's like, you can't just be like to yourself, like, oh, well, I didn't improve because I didn't PB my 1RM, but you progressed your 3RM, your 5RM, your 7RM. Like, they've all gone up. But the barbell is the way to do that, right? The barbell is the most balanced object that we can use in the most versatile way. It trains the entire body, and it's easy to load and progress. Overloading that way, that movement is the easiest thing. So your main barbell lifts: squat, bench, deadlift, and overhead press will be the 4 ones. You've also got rowing and other particular variations, but they're the main 4 ones that will cover the whole body. That's where you'd start. Other things that are super useful and beneficial: dumbbells, training instability, working on specific unilateral imbalances, some machine work, good for rehabilitation and good for beginners, easy to use, hard to injure yourself, a rig, pull-ups, hanging, all the accessories you can do on the rig, excellent. And then anything that's core and midline related. People's midlines are terrible, so it's good to work there. But
so if you've only got time for one movement, all right, so we don't have time to add in all these accessories, we don't have time to run a proper program. If there was one movement, so squat, bench, or dead, which one would you prioritize 3 days a week?
like, most people would think that that's a challenging question, but the squat is definitely the one I would prioritize. As far as like usability, the amount of muscles activated and used,
how much it transfers.
It's really freaking good. Like, it does everything. For a functionality standpoint, I get when people rag on it, like, oh, it's not functional to do back squats. Like, when do you ever have a load on your back and you squat down and stand up? Like, I get that, but you're not doing this for functionality. Like, you're doing this so that the rest of your life is functional, because you have lots of lower body strength, because you have a good midline and upper back, lower back, your forearms, your elbows, like, everything's improving.
You got good joint integrity.
Exactly, right? And it's one of the best ways that you can perform a movement, recover, and perform it again in the same week. Yes, you're going to have some neglect, like your shoulders and your biceps and your triceps won't be as conditioned as someone who does a more rounded program. But if you had to do one movement, squatting would be the one.
Well, and nothing's free, so people need to understand that. Like, you're not going to be able to trade off time and just invest in a back squat and not have some cost.
Yeah.
And the cost might be the fact that you just don't get to work as much shoulder work.
No, exactly. And I've got clients who can't squat. Like, they just don't have the joint integrity to do that. We do deadlifts then. We still work, similar movement patterns. We try and, like, create the variety that they need. But, like, its strength is so easy. You start with just a bar. You can do all the barbell movements: squat, bench, and deadlift, 2-3 days a week, looking at progressing 2.5, 5 kilos each session. You're going to get the results you need. The way I would suggest it, starting strength has probably one of the best templates that have been ever written for the exact progression. 3x5 squats, 3x5 bench press, 1x5 deadlifts, add 2.5 to 5 kilos each session. They alternate the bench press with the overhead press, but that's it. That's literally it. So day 1, squat, bench, deadlift. Day 2, squat, overhead press, deadlift. And just rinse and repeat till you get to a point where one of the lifts have started to stagnate. Reduce that by 10%. Keep running the cycle. You can do this for 6 months. Still see progression. Yes, there's going to be a point where you're going to start having those imbalances. You're going to have certain weaknesses, and you're going to get to that ceiling where, cool, I can't progress anymore. But by that point, you're probably going to be satisfied with the amount of progression you've made. You're going to be a hell of a lot stronger and more conditioned to barbell work. And you're probably going to look for harder options, harder variations. And strength programming is free. It's everywhere. You could literally search it up. ChatGPT can write it for you. It's not a hard concept. But what's the hard part about
structure.
it? Yeah, structure and commitment, right? And that's what I say to people. I was like, if you show up every week, you train 3 to 4 days a week, and you're consistent, you're going to get results. And I use my brother as the best example of that. He comes maybe 2 to 3 days a week, but he hasn't missed a session in the entirety of the time he's trained. He's been sick. He's been fatigued. He's been unmotivated or, overworked, stressed. Like, he still shows up, even with the expectation that he knows that those sessions are going to be bad. He comes because he knows, and I tell him all the time, that results are driven by consistency, not necessarily by intensity. You can show up with consistent and intent sessions and have great results, but if you don't show up, doesn't matter how much intensity you have once a week, it's not going to provide the profound benefits of showing up often and performing things with a good intent. But if you want to choose one, committing and doing it, a couple of days a week, that's where your strength's going to improve massively.
Yeah, and having that, like what you're talking about there is having a real conversation with yourself. So we see it all the time. Like, I get people be like, oh, if I had Tyler's build, I'd be so much better at deadlifting. I'm like, no, you fucking won't.
No.
You can't even turn up 30 minutes early. It's like you're not going to, even if you had Tyler's body, like, you don't have the discipline to do it. And a lot of people don't have that real conversation where they're like, if I had this opportunity, I would do this. It's like, no, you wouldn't.
No.
Like, and you need to have that real conversation. A lot of people need to actually sit back and go, an easy way to frame this, okay? I've never had a client who has put in everything through a training block and for whatever reason failed the test at the end and been disappointed. Like, the only reason you're disappointed at the end when you don't get the result is because you know every time that you got tested, you didn't turn up, you didn't do your food properly. Like, there were things you missed.
Yeah.
So it amplifies what you feel at the back end. So
Yeah.
when we feel like shit for a reason because we know we missed things.
Yeah, and then we look for something to blame rather than ourselves. We look external rather than internal, right? It's not Michael's fault. Yeah, okay, look at things that Michael could have done better. Maybe he didn't send you your program on time.
But even if it was, so what? How does that serve you?
But that doesn't help
If it was
you.
my fault, how does that help you?
No, but it can't be your fault. That's the thing. Like, Michael could send you a dog shit program. Michael could curse you in the gym. He could demotivate you. But at the end of the day, like, it's all internal. Like, it's what you think. It's your relationship with things. It's your intent for sessions. It's your ability to commit. These are all the things that you can control. It doesn't matter what Michael does. You could tell Michael to fuck off every time he does any of these things, as long as you're committed. And the environment. Environment's huge, right? So if everyone else is telling you you're doing a good job, like, it doesn't matter what Michael says. You're going to be worrying like, oh, wow, everyone's giving me some praise. Like, I'm obviously doing the right thing. I'm going to keep showing up. But like, you don't need that to do well. You need to have your own set of goals, your own realistic expectations, and your ability to understand like, hey, I didn't get the result I wanted because I didn't do X, Y, and Z correctly. So it's
if
like,
you take everything as your fault, like, you will probably live a very progressive life.
yeah, and no one does.
You can do something about it.
No one takes everything as their fault. But like, the more that you can own up and take ownership for your mistakes, the better your position you're going to be, right? I think that's a good spot to finish. So that is
one last thing.
He's got one more.
last thing I would add.
All
I
right.
think limitations is something that we need to understand, and the limitations that we choose to accept. So there are social limitations, which is just what society projects on us, and then there's also personal limitations. What I like to get my clients to do is always try and think about the fact that there is someone who is doing more, and their limitations are going to be higher. So they're like, an example, if you look at like China, the way we're never going to outwork China. Why? Because we want to work 4-day weeks and we want to work fucking 8-hour days. All right. Now they do a 9-9-6. So they'll go 9 days straight. All right. And they'll do it for 6 weeks. Like, no time off. Who's going to like that? That's just their normal. Their normal is to work more. So it's like, it's what you choose to believe. So if your belief is, I can only squat twice a week, then that's the limitation that you choose to put on yourself.
Yeah.
So you do want to be like, okay, well, Tyler's squatting 5 days a week, so that is possible. Try and find someone who is doing more.
Yeah. Well, find what works for
you too. There's the saying who is like, show me your 5 friends and I'll show you your future.
Yeah.
Right? Now that actually got taken from show me your 5 heroes and I'll show you your future.
Yeah.
Because who you idolize.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like you said, like, even like, find something that works for you, something that you're going to commit to, something that you know that like is going to give you those results. It's going to be challenging, but find that and then commit to it. Like, yeah, like I might squat 5 days a week, but you might have poor joint integrity, or you might have previous injuries that will limit you for doing the same. Doesn't mean you should copy me, but it means that you should use that as motivation. Like, oh, he's doing it this many times a week and he's surviving. I wonder what his rehabilitation routine looks like. I wonder how he looks after his joints. I wonder how he recovers, how much sleep he has. Take the lessons and the benefits of what I'm doing and use it to benefit your training. Like, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. Steal what works and use it to your advantage in your particular circumstance.
And the hero's there for a reason, to show us what can be.
Yeah, because if we didn't have heroes, we would think our 80 kilo squat is a world record and be like, hell yeah. There's no need to squat any heavier than 80 because I have the biggest squat in the world. But you know for a fact that this guy's squatting over 500 kilos. And that's what gets you out of bed to go to the gym and be like, well, I'm going to start squatting more because old mates over there at my gym squats 200. And I'd love to have that on my back someday. Like,
Yeah, it's like, for me, it's like every athlete is natural.
yeah.
Like, I don't get, Ricky's on, no, it's not. Because for me, it doesn't serve me.
That's-
If I think about Ricky being on steroids, how does that help me?
Well, that's the same as people saying like, oh, like such and such can lift more than you, but they're heavier than you. I get that a lot. People are like, they're heavier than you. They weigh more than you. Or you weigh less than them. So that means that you're stronger than them, power to weight ratio. Yeah, that does mean that. But we're in a CrossFit gym.
But who cares?
But in our side, like CrossFit doesn't care about weight. And that's what I like. I'm like, it's not about who's the strongest power to weight ratio. It's who has the biggest lift in the gym. You know what I mean? Tristan has the biggest bench. Like, just because my power to weight ratio is better than him doesn't take away from the fact that he has lifted the most weight for that movement in our gym. And that's what I like. It's a biased way to take a score. Yeah, obviously it's easier for him to do so, but that doesn't take away from how impressive it is. And I was like, that's what I want to beat. Because what's more impressive is me beating that at a lighter weight. And
have fun chasing it. You just remove those projections.
Exactly. And that's a healthy way to look at trying to progress and trying to get better.
I love it when someone cheats in a workout. I'm like, I win. It's so much more fun chasing. I hate when I'm in front.
Because you got no idea how hard or how slow you need to go.
Down.
Yeah.
So once you're in front and you're winning, what happens? You just slow down.
That's it. And that's like that motivate. That's the untalked about motivation that people need. It's like what is the purpose of me improving my squat? Most people don't chase numbers because like the value is tied to that number. Like, oh, cool, I can squat 220 now. Yeah, excellent. Like, people are going to go home and give me high fives, and people are going to throw a party for me. No one gives a shit.
No one cares.
But
people care about themselves.
But you care. Well, why is it that you care? Probably because you saw someone else from the gym hit 220, and you saw the fact that they had 4 reds on their bar, and you're like, fuck yeah, that looks cool. Imagine if I could do that. And then you prove to yourself that you can. And so it's like a self reflection of like your own ability to achieve certain things you set your mind to, rather than like what the expectation that you're going to receive afterwards. Like, hell yeah, people are fist bumping me in the gym and shit, like high fiving, like you said at the start. Like, Tristan seeks the the environment that's going to appreciate his attempts, but it's like you should seek your ability to then tick off that little milestone of like, hey, I didn't think that was possible, but then I proved myself wrong because I stuck to it. Like, I didn't quit. Like, I didn't stop.
Yeah, and growth comes from doing the things you didn't know you could do.
Yeah.
Like, there is no growth from doing the things you know you can do.
Yeah, or things that come easy either. So, right? So,
those you can artificially create those scenarios and move faster.
I think that's a good place to leave it. So, building lasting strength, easier than you think. Find a setup that works for you. I would suggest focusing mainly on the barbell movements.
Better, and just scrap the new.
Yeah, don't stress about all these fancy things you see online. Like, they're going to be beneficial in certain points and positions, but realistically, if you have a bar, you have a bench, you have a rack, you've got enough to build some serious strength. And I would just focus on finding the way that's going to help you commit to a consistent amount of times to the gym that is going to be sustainable, that isn't going to put you in a hole. And then if you have injuries or like, mobility issues, things that are going to limit your ability to do more, work on them while you are building that strength.
And if you struggle with strategies and prioritizing, that's where you reach out. That's the role of a coach. They take those decisions away from you, they make it for you, and they assess everything they need to make those decisions.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to leave it. That's going to be episode 2, building lasting strength.